Hi, I'm Muhammed Hamdan, and this is Nightline, and here are the top stories. Another senior military officer to be charged soon in connection with a corruption case. And Education Ministry to study need for UPSR PT3 revival. Good morning. We begin with this headlining story. Another senior military officer is under investigation by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission and is expected to be charged soon in connection with a corruption case. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki said the case is separate from the ongoing probe involving a former army chief linked to defence procurement tenders.
Isu melibatkan MINDEF juga, pegawai pengurusan tertinggi lah. Itu saya tak boleh nyatakan, tapi kuat substantif kerana ini pentingnya ialah jawatan dia, orangnya.
Asked about the severity of the case and the amount involved, Azam said the figure could not yet be disclosed, but the officer's rank is the critical factor. Azam revealed the details during an exclusive interview with Harian Metro in Putrajaya. The individual is being investigated over alleged corruption linked to the Defence Ministry, and the investigations are nearing completion. He said the suspect will be charged in court after seeking the Attorney General's recommendation for prosecution.
Saya nak dia tuduh. Saya minta AG tolong tuduh. Tangkap tu tangkaplah. Tapi lepas tangkap, kita tak mau tinggal lama. Simpan lama. Tuduh kat kuat lah. Hampir siap.
On Thursday, the MACC obtained a 7-day remand order against a former army chief to assist investigations into alleged irregularities in military procurement tenders. His two wives were also remanded, one for 3 days and the other for 6 days. In the meantime, the MACC has seized assets worth nearly 7 million ringgit in connection with an ongoing investigation into army tender projects. Among the items seized are close to 4 kilograms of gold, valued at more than 2.3 million ringgit, a high-performance luxury SUV, and large amounts of foreign currency. Sources said the seizure followed an inspection of a vehicle at a workshop in the Klang Valley. The gold seized includes 3 gold bars weighing 3 kilograms, as well as 9 gold pieces with a combined weight of 900 grams. The luxury SUV is estimated to be worth around 360,000 ringgit and is believed to have been purchased in cash. Foreign currency seized include US dollars, euros and pounds sterling. In total, the value of the items are estimated at nearly 7 million ringgit. The seizure was confirmed by MACC Senior Director of the Investigation Division, Datuk Zainul Daros. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim said the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law must always be preserved and defended. According to His Majesty, the people have the right to feel disappointed when those in power are found to have abused their positions or are involved in corruption. The advice was conveyed when the King granted an audience to Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said, in the federal capital on Friday. In a Facebook post, His Majesty said the preservation of the 2 principles of the Rukun Negara is of utmost importance. This is because they have a direct impact on public confidence in the integrity of governing institutions and the national administration. During the meeting, Sultan Ibrahim was also briefed on current legal issues, including efforts to strengthen governance and institutional reforms aimed at combating corruption. Meanwhile, Sultan Ibrahim has graciously gifted a mosque to residents of the Batu Muda area in Kuala Lumpur. His Majesty has also consented to fully bear all costs related to the construction of the mosque. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong said this to Kuala Lumpur Mayor Datuk Fadlun Ma'ujud, who was granted an audience at Istana Bukit Tungku. The 2-acre mosque site approved by His Majesty is located near the Batu Muda People's Housing Project, PPR. The mosque's design has been determined by His Majesty and is based on the Kampung Mahmudiyah Mosque in Johor Bahru. Sultan Ibrahim said he has long harboured the intention of gifting a mosque to residents in the Kuala Lumpur area and expressed hope that the mosque will benefit all members of the community. Moving on, the Education Ministry is set to review whether the UPSR and PT3 examinations should be reintroduced. Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq said the ministry has reactivated the National Education Advisory Council to conduct the study this year. Speaking to reporters after the Education Ministry's New Year's address in Putrajaya on Friday, Fadlina said the move comes after sustained feedback from parents following the abolition of the two national-level exams in 2021 and 2022.
Peperiksaan yang disebut ataupun maknanya yang berada dalam polemik masyarakat itu, saya minta nanti Dr. Azam yang akan juga memberikan pandangan kementerian dan juga ahli-ahli majlis penasihat itu nanti akan membincangkan dan laporan kaji selidik dan apa sahaja keputusan itu kita akan serahkan kepada ahli kabinet khususnya untuk diteliti.
The UPSR exam was first cancelled in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic before being fully abolished the following year. PT3 was also cancelled in the same period and later scrapped entirely in 2022 and was replaced with school-based assessments. However, several years after both exams were abolished, calls from various quarters, including parents, have intensified, urging that the government consider reinstating the national-level examinations. In a separate development, Fadlina said the cabinet would discuss expectations of a possible school bus fare increase.
Saya akan bincanglah dengan dalam kabinet nanti. Saya akan bawa dalam jawab menteri perkara dan keprihatinan itu untuk kita lihat secara keseluruhan.
Media reports have previously indicated that school bus operators are expecting fare hikes due to rising operating costs, including insurance, drivers' wages and vehicle spare parts. The Federation of Malaysian School Bus Association's president, Amali Munif Rahmat, was reported as saying any increase would be entirely at the discretion of operators after the government decided in 2015 not to regulate or cap school bus fares. Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim arrived in Malaysia on Friday afternoon following a successful three-day official visit to Turkey aimed at strengthening economic and trade ties between the two countries. However, there has been little rest for the Prime Minister, who headed straight to work by chairing the weekly cabinet meeting in Putrajaya. The aircraft carrying the Prime Minister, his wife Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail and the Malaysian delegation landed safely at the Subang Air Force Base in Selangor at noon. After performing Friday prayers, Anwar immediately proceeded to his office at Perdana Putra. He then chaired a cabinet meeting that lasted close to 3 hours. Among other matters, the meeting focused on the performance and governance of several ministries and government agencies. Earlier, during a press conference in Istanbul before he departed for home, Anwar said his official visit to Turkey has strengthened and further enhanced bilateral relations and economic cooperation between the two countries. His 3-day visit, which began on Tuesday at the invitation of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, also provided an opportunity to explore potential cooperation across various fields. This was evident when both countries capitalized on the visit by convening the first Malaysia-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council HLSCC meeting in Ankara on Thursday. Malaysia's total trade with Turkey from January to November 2025 reached 21.2 billion ringgit, with the Republic remaining an important economic partner. In 2024, Turkey was Malaysia's third largest trading partner, largest export destination and fourth largest source of imports among West Asian countries, with total trade valued at 24.15 billion ringgit. Malaysia plans to review and strengthen its 17 existing free trade agreements FTAs to ensure they deliver optimal outcomes for the country. Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani said Turkey will be the first country to be assessed before similar reviews are carried out with other FTA partners. The strategic approach was outlined by Johari, who accompanied the Prime Minister on an official visit to Turkey. He said Malaysia has signed a total of 17 FTAs, comprising 9 multilateral and regional agreements, as well as 8 bilateral agreements, including with Turkey.
I want to visit to all these FTAs agreement that we have signed, 17 of them, and we go to every country. We address, look at what benefit they have got from us in the past, what benefit that we have got from them.
The visit also marks an initial step by the ministry to assess the effectiveness of the FTAs that have been signed.
Why we have signed FTAs, but we have not seen investment coming or trade coming to us, and why we see only our trade only goes to them, but they don't have. Maybe they have the lack of capacity or capability. This is where the opportunity we want to take.
Malacca is set to revive its role as a regional maritime hub through the development of a shipyard project spanning more than 9 hectares. Malacca Chief Minister Datuk Seri Abdul Rauf Yusof said the move comes after the state's successful tourism drive under Visit Malacca 2024-2026, with focus now shifting towards high-impact industrial investment. The Enrique of Malacca shipyard, to be developed in Limbongan, Malacca, is expected to begin construction this year and will provide shipbuilding, repair and maritime services. On Thursday, a memorandum of agreement was signed between the Malacca state government and Turkey-based shipbuilding company Disan Shipyard. Rauf said the agreement involves a total investment value of 1.8 billion ringgit with an initial investment of 180 million ringgit.
Jadi pembinaan kapal yang ada di Turki ini dilihat memang menjadi pusat perdagangan perkapalan yang agak besar kerana permintaan untuk membaik pulih kapal di sebelah Europe ini memang memerlukan kepakaran desa. Jadi pemindahan teknologi ini akan berlaku di Melaka dan kita bersedia untuk menjadikan Melaka di dalam kesemukan Selat Melaka yang melintasi lebih 78,000 ke 80,000 kapal setahun akan dijadikan pusat pembaik pulih kapal yang dinamakan Desan Shipyard atau telah pun diberikan nama baru Hendrik the Black bersempena dengan peranan yang dimainkan oleh Panglima Awang, manusia pertama mengelilingi dunia.
The project is expected to create more than 5,000 job opportunities. Meanwhile, Malacca is also expanding into the aerospace sector through a helicopter hub in Batu Berendam, which is projected to generate over 500 jobs.
Kegemilangan Melaka sebagai pusat perdagangan dan pelabuhan dan pusat pertukaran perdagangan di peringkat dunia pernah berlaku zaman kegemilangan Sultan Melaka. Ianya akan kembali semula dengan kelulusan yang diberikan oleh Kerajaan Pusat pada negeri Melaka dengan 4 buah pelabuhan. Ya. Salah satu pelabuhannya ialah membina dan membaik pulih kapal yang sedang kita lakukan lawatan ini, dan insyaAllah Melaka akan kembali untuk menjadikan Melaka sebagai pusat ekonomi biru ataupun blue economy yang akan menjana pendapatan baru.
Malaysia's unemployment rate in November last year fell 2.9%, marking its lowest level in 11 years. Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Muhammed said the last time the unemployment rate dropped below 3% was in 2014. According to Malaysia's labour force statistics, the number of unemployed stood at 518,400 people in November 2025. It stated that favourable economic conditions during the month continued to support stable growth in the labour market across various sectors. The labour force increased to 17.61 million people during the period, higher than the previous month, as the labour force participation rate stood at 70.9%. Total employment rose to 12.78 million people, representing nearly 75%, while the number of own account workers also increased to 3.26 million compared with the previous month. Now, the outlook for gold remains positive, with prices expected to rise to as high as 640 ringgit per gram this year. The forecast is supported by global macroeconomic and structural factors, reinforcing its role as a key safe haven asset. According to BIMB Securities Research, prolonged geopolitical and economic uncertainty will continue to drive demand for gold. More accommodative monetary policies by major central banks are also supporting the positive sentiment towards the precious metal, as the US Federal Reserve and several other central banks are expected to further cut interest rates. Bursa Malaysia's benchmark FBM KLCI surged to its highest level since 2019, closing at 1,686.54. The rally was supported by continued buying interest in heavyweight stocks, particularly in the banking, telecommunications and plantation sectors.
Kami percaya aliran menaik semasa berpotensi dikekalkan sehingga minggu depan, sekaligus meletakkan indeks di landasan untuk menembusi paras 1,700.
As at 5 p.m. on Friday, the FBM KLCI rose 16.97 points to a level close to that last recorded on March 7, 2019. The brokerage firm remains positive on the near-term outlook for the benchmark index, supported by sustained upward momentum. The FBM KLCI is seen to be in a healthy uptrend across the short to long-term horizon. Boy escapes giant python after 30-minute struggle. More news from the local front after this breather.
Air mata pilu dan gelak tawa sepanjang Januari ini. Nadi Luna. Tanam apa tu Bang Haji?
Macam cerita Korea pula.
Kesempatan kedua.
Ada ribut, ada tiba-tiba betul agama Mak Mahal.
Pusin pening lah.
Pusin dengan pening ni.
Cermin kasih.
Anak penghuni hanya dibenarkan tinggal bersama ibunya sehingga umur 3 tahun.
Kisah penuh rasa, cerita pilihan setiap Sabtu 2 petang di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Wanita penuh tempo, penuh cerita. Inilah Nona, inspirasi bertemu realiti. Setiap warna mempunyai keupayaan membangkitkan pelbagai mood dan emosi. Semoga istirahat anda memberi makna yang indah walau tempohnya hanya seketika. Dan terus setia sejam bersama kami kerana Nona, inspirasi wanita untuk semua. Nona di TV3 dan stream di Tonton.
Orang tua dulu semua buat baju. Buat tu tak susah. Tapi panjang masa lah. Setahun.
Tekstur tu memang berubah ikut jangka hayat. Bila dah sampai 3 ke 4 bulan, dia dah start hancur dah.
Kemalangan pada masa sekarang ni ada keperluan untuk membuat pengekstrakan data secara digital lah.
Data-data digital banyak kat dalam kenderaan kita. Jadi jangan sembarangan share kereta kita untuk orang pakai sebab boleh disalahguna.
Welcome back. A 10-year-old boy narrowly escaped with his life after being attacked by a 6-meter-long python at Kampung Temai Hulu in Pekan, Pahang. The incident happened at about 6:30 p.m. on Thursday when the boy, Abdul Rafka Azka Abdullah, accidentally kicked the snake as he was running towards his uncle's house. The python is believed to weigh nearly 50 kilograms. His 26-year-old brother rushed to help after hearing the boy's screams. He too was overpowered, prompting him to call for their uncle, 57-year-old Ramzi Muhammad Amin. By then, the python had coiled itself from the child's leg up to his body, with its jaws clamped onto his right leg, causing bleeding. Ramzi suffered injuries to his fingers while trying to force open the python's jaws before using a sharp object to free the boy after a struggle lasting about 30 minutes. The injured child was rushed to Pekan Hospital for treatment and is reported to be in stable condition. The python was later handed over to the Department of Wildlife and National Parks, Perhilitan. In Sabah, one man died while 3 others managed to save themselves after floodwaters washed away their four-wheel drive in Tawau district. In the incident on Thursday evening, the 4 men in their 20s and 30s were traversing a flooded road at Kampung Sungai Udin.
Tenggelam sudah ni. Habis.
The incident occurred as they were transporting 2 motorcycles in the back of the pickup. When the strong current hit at around 9 p.m, 3 of the men managed to swim to safety. However, 1 man in his 30s did not make it. The man's body was recovered at around 7:15 a.m. the next morning, about 800 meters from where he was last seen. The body was handed over to the police for further action, while the pickup and motorcycles were not recovered. The driver of a Honda Jazz involved in a crash that killed a student from University Sultan Zainal Abidin Uniza has been remanded for 4 days to assist investigations. The 32-year-old man was brought to the Kuala Terengganu Magistrates Court on Friday morning, where the magistrate granted a police request to remand him until January 12th. The case is being investigated under Section 41 of the Road Transport Act for reckless and dangerous driving causing death. During the crash on Monday, the 25-year-old victim was on her way to the State Education Department to obtain a practical teaching permit, with her placement scheduled to begin in March. Media reports have cited Kuala Terengganu District Police Chief ACP Azli Muhammad Noor as saying that the driver of the Honda Jazz had been suffering from major depressive disorder with a history of psychiatric treatment. Protests escalate across Iran. The details when Nightline returns.
Kenapa ni?
Pasal Matul Malik. Malik nak mati.
Itu tiram. Macam ada hantu.
Hantu? Duit sewa kat Kuala Lumpur tu je korang lebih 1,000. Masa kita pergi konsert road tour, malam Jumaat.
Memperkenalkan isteri baru saya.
Di Cerekerama TV3 Sabtu ini 10 malam dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
2025 dah habis. Jom kita tengok 2026.
Hubungan kita bukan betul pun. Siapa? Main-main je. Awak bukan sayang saya pun kan?
Aku tak payah nak ambil tahu pasal hidup orang ni. Yang kau nak panas ni asal.
Dia pandai tau. Dia pandai malu.
Kalau nak nasihat, nasihat dengan hati.
Kenalkan Nur, orang penting dalam hidup Ab.
Sampai bila abang nak tidur bawah ni? Kalau abang takut, Aira boleh tidur dekat tengah.
Abang risau belakang saya yang sakit.
Kau dah cakap sangat pasal mak aku kan? Kau cakap depan biji mata aku lah.
Saya layan awak macam sampah. Tapi awak layan saya macam princess.
Walau sampai detik yang saya ada separuh nafas, saya tetap akan cintakan awak.
Mak, tak perasan ke? Ha? Muka dia tu macam tak suka kita datang.
Malam kau pergi mana? Aku call kau tak angkat. Message pun kau tak baca.
Tapi, walaupun kerja macam tu, diorang lolek tau.
Perempuan!
Kalau bos nak, saya boleh tolong carikan kawan bos tu.
Sorry Cik Farah, saya nak pergi kat kereta ambil barang je.
Every time I see. Kau tahu kan buat muka dia jadi apa pun tak dapat.
Aku tak faham lah. Kenapa kau suruh aku tipu Siti tu? Saya ingin mengucapkan selamat tahun baru.
Selamat tahun baru. Selamat tahun baru 2026 kepada semua penonton TV3.
Dan juga tonton.
News from the foreign front. Nationwide protests in Iran entered a new episode after the nation was largely cut off from the outside world on Friday as authorities shut down the internet to curb growing protests. Phone calls were blocked, flights were cancelled, and Iranian news websites updated only sporadically. The demonstrations that have popped up in cities and rural towns across Iran continued Thursday. More markets and bazaars shut down in support of the protesters. The growth of the protests increases the pressure on its supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and the Iranian government. Khamenei, meanwhile, condemned the protests, which authorities have portrayed as a plot by foreign enemies. He accused protesters of acting on behalf of US President Trump, saying they were damaging public property and serving as mercenaries for foreigners. So far, violence around the demonstrations has killed at least 42 people, while more than 2,270 others have been detained. At least one person was killed and more than 30 others were reported missing after a mountain of rubbish collapsed at a landfill in the central Philippines late on Thursday. Officials said on Friday that at least 12 people were rescued at the Binali landfall in Cebu City, while 38 others, many believed to be workers, remained missing as search and rescue operations continued. The waste pile at the affected area was estimated to be as high as a 4-story building. The collapse damaged several structures, including the company's office and maintenance facilities. While the exact cause has yet to be confirmed, authorities believe the incident was likely linked to poor waste management practices. Strong winds battered Britain and France on Friday as Storm Gerati hit northern Europe, leaving hundreds of thousands of households without power. In the UK, 57,000 homes were left without power after Storm Gerati brought additional snowfall following a week of freezing weather. Hundreds of schools are set to close across Scotland and central England, where the storm has hit hardest. Rail operators in central England have also warned against travel, with some services suspended. In France, some 380,000 households lost power, mostly in the Normandy region and in Brittany. Overnight, wind gusts exceeded 150 kilometers per hour in France's northwestern Manche region, reaching a record 213 kilometers per hour in Barfleur. Train services between Paris and Normandy were also suspended. Switching to sports, badminton, the 2026 Malaysia Open. National top men's doubles pair Aaron Chia and So Woo Yik emerge as Malaysia's only semi-finalists in the Super 1000 tournament after the remaining doubles pairs bowed out to the quarterfinals. In a hard-fought 34-minute match, world number 2 pair Aaron and Woo Yik defeated Indonesia's top duo Sabah Karyaman Gutama and Reza Pahlavi Isfahani 21-19, 21-10. They will next face another Indonesian pair, Fajar Alfian and Muhammad Shohibul Fikri, for a place in the final. However, men's doubles pair Man Wei Chong and T Kai Wun and mixed doubles pair Chen Tang Jie and To Yi Wei saw their campaigns end in the quarterfinals. Wei Chong and Kai Wun fought hard against South Korea's world champions Kim Won-ho and Seo Seong-jae, but were unable to overcome the top seeds, falling 17-21, 14-21. Earlier reigning world champions Tang Jie and Yi Wei were defeated by a lower-ranked Hong Kong pair in a 3-game quarter-final match. The world number 4 pair, who reached the semi-finals last year, lost 17-21, 21-17, 10-21 to world number 8 duo Tang Chunman and Se Yingshuet, who held firm in the decider to secure the victory. Squash now, the 2026 Karachi Open. National women's players Aifa Azman and S. Sivasangari booked their spots in the semi-finals, setting up an all-Malaysian clash. 8th seed Aifa pulled off a sensational straight sets victory over Egypt's 3rd seed Fairuz Abu Khair, winning 11-9, 13-11, 11-3 in just 32 minutes in the quarter-final. Earlier, 2nd-seeded Sivasangari overcame England's Lucy Turmel 13-11, 11-7, 11-9 in the 35-minute last 8 encounter. With both wins, Malaysia is assured of at least one finalist in Sunday's championship. And that concludes this edition of Nightline. Before we leave, let's take a look at snow-covered streets in Hamburg as Storm Ellie sweeps across northern Germany. With that, I'm Muhammed and Hamdan. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.